Hello again.
Hey, haven't seen you in a while.
I know, right?
So you're doing this one, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking we're doing Ben's. I don't know why I forgot. Good work, Jenny.
Yeah,
Hey.
Jenny, that was great.
Hey, should I have had the video on this one or not? Since she's doing the question.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Probably. Do you know how to mute yourself, Jenny?
Let's see.
I forgot to do mine until right at the end.
You were quiet. I noticed that, and I was impressed.
And I even saw you mute yourself. So.
Well, if I hadn't, my thing is all twisted. If I hadn't, my dog would have like gone crazy in the background or something.
Right. Jenny, you can unmute yourself now.
All right.
Hey, there's Marion.
Where?
Do y'all see her?
I'm here.
No. Hi.
Oh, hi. Hi.
How are you this morning?
I hope all are well. I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jenny, do you want to introduce us? April, do you know?
Sure.
Jenny can do that. That's great.
Okay.
All right. Morgan is our filmmaker she's a English professor at ICC and works with some students who filmmake. And she's our tech person too. And April is our oral historian, has a long history of doing this kind of work. And you know who I am. And Marion is my friend and associate from the aging community, I guess. Worked with for many years at the division of, when she was the director of Division of Aging and Adult Services. And then in various ways since then, we've been in professional and personal contact, right?
Marion, can you turn on, is there any other light you can turn on in your room?
I'll have to get another lamp.
Okay.
The overhead is all it'll do. So
Oh, okay.
give me a minute. I'll also unplug the phone that is beeping.
And April, chime in for what looks good and what needs to be changed. You know more about that than I do.
No, I was impressed that you were directing the lighting from Zoom.
Well, and I did take a look at Ben's and it looked well. The recording,
Oh, good.
just him on screen, and
Good.
it looks good.
Oh, good. I'm glad to know that. Yeah, it's hard to it's hard to set up the scene remotely.
Let's see how I'm going to do this.
I guess we're all getting used to this though, with the newscasters, everybody being
Right. I know.
this.
I know, getting to see everybody's houses, it's funny.
I know it. Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was surprised seeing someone's bed in the background of a journalist the other day. I mean, it was neat and made up, but I thought, wow, it's a little weird. I don't know.
I know. I always sympathize because my house is small, and especially when kids are sleeping or kids are working in one area, I'm just always finding like the best possible place, and it's not always very nice looking, but so I saw something on, I don't know, the internet the other day about I guess it was Demi Moore, did some Zoom call, and people were freaking out over how weird her bathroom. She was filming it in a very large bathroom, but it was very like, brown shag carpeting and all this kind of stuff. And everybody was like, what's up with our bathroom? It's like, we have no privacy anymore.
Their whole websites and YouTube videos about
Yes.
that type of thing.
Celebrity homes. Yeah. Exactly.
So when are you going to bring Sam on for a cameo?
He would be in here now if he could. When I'm on Zoom, he comes in and barks.
Oh.
So I guess he just hears people talking, or he knows I'm not working. If he thinks I'm not working, but I'm not paying him any attention,
Yeah.
like, okay, it's time to play.
What's up with that?
Yeah. I need my play break.
That's funny.
What was it? I saw something when I think it was yesterday, a legislator or somebody, a cat came on, and the cat tail was right in front of the.
Yeah.
Really?
I have a friend with me right now, so.
Oh, I love that. That's a cool background.
Yeah.
Pictures plus the cat.
Yeah. He's the one that gets in your face. So he shows up every now. He's had his tail in the picture once, and I was like,
Right.
so.
Sure.
Cats love to get on the computer, I know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They do.
This is easier said than done, ladies.
I know. I'm sorry, Marion. I hate that for you.
All right, let me get around to the plugs. I had to get a surge protector strip.
Oh. Yeah, normally there's a crew to help do that, but not in these situations.
We would call that. Okay. Nope, still not enough, huh?
Well,
It's okay. What do you
Yeah,
think?
it's
April?
okay.
I'm blinded, but that's okay.
I think we do what we can.
Yeah.
All right,
So.
I've got another one here. It's just the bulb is burned out.
Oh,
We were talking about pets. All I have now is pictures until Mr. Kilgore falls in love with the
Oh.
the wall.
Oh, yeah. I know. I hate that, Jenny. I'm looking forward to the day when you can get another one or two. Or,
Now I've lost
there we
lost
go.
y'all.
We're gonna make that work, Marion. I think we're gonna
that
make
looks
that work.
good. Yeah.
It did help.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm going to put you on Spotlight video, Marion, if that's okay with you, just for the recording part. It will be your face on screen the whole time, but I don't think it will look any different to you guys while we're recording.
There we go.
Okay.
Great.
Worked up a sweat with the lighting crew.
Oh, I know. Okay, I will mute myself. And Jenny, do you want to mute yourself? And then if you, Jenny, you chime in anytime you want to, just unmute yourself and
See if I can see it again. There it is. And
but if you want to say something anytime, just unmute yourself.
okay, you might want to, in your introduction of yourself, Marion, tell about Glenn Ray, your better half, or you're the better half.
I don't think this is his show.
Well,
but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. Is there too much light on the sides?
You're good.
All right.
we are living in a time that forces us to adapt. So
Yes.
we
Yeah.
appreciate it. Well, as Jenny said, I'm April Grayson, and I am based in Oxford. And so we are doing this interview with Marion Dunn Tutor via Zoom, as we are in the midst of the COVID pandemic. And this is July 17, 2020. Thank you so much for doing this. And we're going to take probably about 30, maybe 35 minutes to, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And so I wondered if you could just start by telling me your full name, your place of and date of birth, if you don't mind, just for the record.
Thank you, April. I'll be happy to. I'm Marion Dunn Tutor. I am a senior in age, and I was born in Boone, North Carolina, in the highlands of North Carolina of the Blue Ridge Mountain Range.
And did you grow up there as well, or can you tell me a little bit about your getting from there to Mississippi?
I'd be happy to, but you would need a long time. I have spent quite a bit of my life traveling because my father was in the U.S. Public Health Service. And his assignments went from South Dakota to New Mexico to Kentucky at the narco hospital there to Saudi Arabia. He had a long and varied career. And as a child, we went with that wild career of his. So my growing up years were sort of like a military child. I went to a lot of different places and made a lot of friends across the world. But when I married and moved to Mississippi, I became interested in state government here, and that is how I got involved with the Department of Human Services, Division of Aging and Adult Services, and how I ran into and met Catherine Kilgore.
So could you give me a brief introduction to your education and maybe what inspired you to do the work that you do?
Sure. High school in Orlando, Florida, where I decided, and my parents helped me decide, that we would consider Mercer University, and that is where I got my undergraduate degree in Georgia, Macon, Georgia. Of course, there are campuses in multiple places, but Macon is where I spent my time. Later in life, I decided to continue my education and finished my doctorate in educational leadership at the University of Mississippi here in Oxford. I was not living here at the time. I was living in Jackson and working there with the Department of Human Services in state government. So that was a bit of a change to finish the doctorate. But in so doing, and as I worked with the Division of Aging, I found a real love of gerontology. My grandmother had inspired me years ago, and in fact, during my time with the Department of Human Services, I wore her signet ring. I am named after her as a token of why I was there and to remind myself of the seniors that we were serving every day.
Great. And so could you tell me just a little bit about the trajectory of your career in senior services?
Absolutely. I didn't know anything about aging, not a darn thing. I had heard the term Meals on Wheels, but I had no idea what it really meant. I first went to work for the state government in Mississippi in child care. And suddenly there were a rash of retirements in the Division of Aging, and I was asked to take on a role in the Division of Aging by the Department of Human Services Executive Director as the planner for the division. And that's what I did. And I was fascinated by what I found. I found that the services provided at the federal level for seniors were things that I would have to say, spent their life building. if you will. They were the teachers, they were the Sunday school teachers, they were the carpenters and plumbers who came before us. They were the military, the police that came before us and formed what we have in our society today. And we found that they, if they age in place, how do they change a light bulb by themselves? How do they shop for meals when they can no longer drive? So these were services, including legal issues that they could not solve themselves. These were problems that seniors needed to resolve. And this Administration on Aging, federal level government, had put together a system to help seniors. And that was very intriguing to me.
Great. And so what positions have you held in aging, a division of aging over the years?
Mm-hmm. I started off as the planner and served a good many years in that capacity, 12 years in that capacity. I was very excited to do so because that let me get to know the aging network across the state of Mississippi. I got to know all of the area agencies on aging and participate at the grassroots with their state plans, meet their people, go to seniors centers, have lunch with seniors. It also let me be involved with the restructuring of how we would provide services in the state of Mississippi. So a little later in my career, I was asked to serve as the director of aging, and I did so for over 6 years in that capacity before I decided to retire to North Mississippi and actually found love in midlife. So here's the plug for my husband, Glenn Ray Tutor, who is an artist here in Oxford, and he and I have been here in Oxford ever since.
Great. Thank you. Well, I was wondering if you could talk about how you first came into contact with the North Mississippi Rural Legal Service Elder Law Project.
Absolutely. I have always wished that I could clone Jenny Kilgore and spread her across the state of Mississippi. When I was the planner for the Division of Aging, one of the most important things to do was to make sure that the services were well noted, the data was collected, and that we were doing all that we should be doing. And I found that the Legal Services Program, that is a partnership with the Administration on Aging through the Aging Network in Mississippi, was a very vibrant program because of Ms. Kilgore. A gentleman by the name of Tom Coward was the state director of the program, and Mr. Coward, a lawyer, oversaw the legal services program. He worked directly with Jenny to make sure that the program served needs of seniors. But Jenny Kilgore went beyond just serving legal needs of seniors. She took very seriously professional development. We found that our ombudsman program, a program that advocates for seniors in long-term care facilities, was sorely lacking in education, in professional development of our ombudsman. Our social workers in adult protective services, our social workers in the area agencies on aging needed help. They needed training on issues that an adult faces, a senior adult faces: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of those issues. So that was one of the reasons I say I wish I could have cloned Jenny Kilgore throughout the state, because she brought that important professional development to the Aging Network.
And what was the time frame of that work? Do you remember when that was happening?
My association with her was through the late 90s and all throughout the early teens of the 20s. She every year provided an elder law conference. That elder law conference was crucial to the development of lawyers, professional development of lawyers, for CLEs, as well as social workers, ombudsmen, who needed to know what was going on current in legal matters for older people. We worked through, I digress. Let me finish the professional development. She also was a major contributor every year to the Joint Conference on Aging. We always had a legal track during that conference. It was a statewide conference, and her input was always so appreciated and welcomed by those in the network. She, in her day-to-day work, delivered information to seniors through senior centers, through individual appointments. And the work of North Mississippi Rural Legal Services in the Aging Project could not have happened without Jenny's direction, in my opinion. All 6 of the area agencies on aging that she worked closely with were happy to participate with her and glad to welcome her whenever they saw the need.
Great. So what could you describe a little bit more about the relationship between you at the Division of Aging and Jenny and the Elder Law Project at NMRLS? Like, how did that actually look in real time?
In real time, sure. Mr. Coward's job as the legal services developer for the Division of Aging and Adult Services at the Department of Human Services had direct contact with Jenny. She was required to file reports that were submitted to the federal government on what services she provided, because that's where the funds were coming from to support the project. And so when problems occurred, Mr. Coward was often involved. But all of the staff at the Division of Aging, whether it was the ombudsman or the home and community-based services staff, had access to Ms. Kilgore and the project, because problems would arise in long-term care facilities, problems would arise with a person who was being evicted from their home, that she would step into and help resolve for the client. And our staff, as well as the staff of the area agencies on aging, were in constant contact with North Mississippi Rural Legal Services and Ms. Kilgore specifically.
So it sounds like it was a combination of doing some education or preventative type work, and then some putting out fires that came up along the way. Is that an accurate description? Legal
fires that we always hoped could be resolved easily. No one liked a court issue.
Do you have any anecdotes that you could share, like a particular example that might stand out of something that was impactful?
Medicare Part D. When the U.S. federal government, through Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, decided to implement Medicare Part D, which is the prescription drug part of Medicare, there had never been a way to pay for prescription drugs. So when this was decided and the funding allowed, that meant that the Aging Network had to step up and assist all of the seniors in Mississippi to choose what kind of Medicare Part D plan they would have. They had no idea what Medicare Part D was. And so there was a huge national rollout for Medicare Part D. Every state had to be involved. And in that quagmire of knowledge sharing and trying to get everyone enrolled in a plan, we found that there were some not so honest insurance representatives. And we, Jenny and I, and the state SHIP, State Health Insurance Program representative, and all of our staff at the time, the Area Agency on Aging staff, were taking complaints left and right. So it was quite a time when we were all gathered together during the 2003-2004 rollout of Medicare Part D to make sure that seniors in the state of Mississippi were able to obtain that service. So yes, it was quite a time, and that was anecdotally working very closely together to make sure that everyone got what they needed.
I also want to ask you more broadly how familiar you were with NMRLS's work in the community. And in particular, Jenny's project is focusing on the role of women. And so I wondered if you could just share a bit about thoughts on that, and even particular other women in the program that you might have worked with or encountered.
Well, 3 out of 4 seniors are women. We are the older population. The female population far exceeds the older male population. So most of Jenny's clients were female. North Mississippi Rural Legal Services was near and dear to my heart. And after I stopped working for the division, I did some development work for the Foundation for North Mississippi Rural Legal Services. We wrote grants, wrote a grant to update their technology, wrote a grant for domestic violence issues, and tried to get some private funding into legal services. The role of North Mississippi Rural Legal Services and the Aging Project continued with Jenny and I, as we both saw the great need for professional development and education for people who would be working professionally in aging and throughout the aging network, whether it was a social worker, an ombudsman, a lawyer, whatever it was. So I know Ms. Kilgore took on the Elder Law Project at the University of Mississippi. And from there, she and I formed a collaboration when I started teaching adjunct gerontology courses here at the University of Mississippi. She and her wonderful law students would come to the class of mostly social workers, people who wanted to serve seniors, like physical therapists, speech therapists, audiologists. We had a wide range of different students in the classes, and they loved hearing the basics of senior law and social services for seniors from a lawyer, from a law student, who could be very specific in those descriptions for them and had anecdotes that were very interesting. So that helped a lot in the professional development concept, the educational concept that Jenny continued with me.
Great. Were there any other of the women associated with NMRLS that you had a direct contact with? One of the things that this project is hoping to do is lift up some of the stories of those women, and you may not have, but people like Mildred Quarles or any other women in the community who had a tie to North Mississippi Rural Legal Services.
Well, Mildred Quarles was an icon for those in the area agencies on aging who saw her whenever Jenny appeared at a senior service, senior center for a will day perhaps, or other types of legal matters that would be discussed with seniors. Mildred was there to help pave the way for this lawyer, somewhat imposing person, who would come into the group of seniors who were a bit reticent to tell their problems to someone. And Mildred helped her and helped all of us by being that advocate and that that helper to guide the discussion. And she wasn't shy about it either. She was very direct and said, "You got a problem? What's your problem? Tell me about it." And when she heard, she would say, "Well, now you need to tell her about it, the lawyer about it. Now let's talk about it with her. She can fix it." So Mildred was very involved, and it took women who had the years on them, I'll say, senior women, to understand the lifespan of women who don't like to, you know, confess all of their problems, who have lived their lives without interference with the law. So it was a great thing to have that advocate. She had, and there were others, but Mildred is one I particularly remember.
Thank you. That was a wonderful description. Do you have any other stories of Miss Quarles? Like, were you aware of some of her other legal battles that she helped lead in the community? Or do you have any grounding in that?
I would have to say that, now I do know that Mildred traveled a good deal with Jenny, and Mississippi's a big, long state. She was always an advocate for the Elder Law Conference and a participant there, welcoming people, making people feel at home. Now, that's not just Mildred. Let me say, the other women and men who worked with North Mississippi Rural Legal Services participated with every aspect of the aging program and in support of the aging program. If there was a conference to be thrown, they came in and did so. They helped. Everyone participated. If there was a law, a matter at law, they would not just rely on one person. They could get advice and counsel and took up causes for seniors. And so for that, I am very grateful for North Mississippi Rural Legal Services and the role of the women there.
Great. Have you noticed any noticeable changes in the structure of legal assistance to the aging population through the years, particularly NMRLS?
I think that overall, people are becoming more aware of the service of North Mississippi Rural Legal Services. I believe it was a well-hidden secret for far too long. And now people have become more aware of what they do. The legal community is more in tune with what they do. They have more pro bono type of participation from the legal community than in past. And I think many of the women who went to law school started out at North Mississippi Rural Legal Services and have advanced in their careers, left that perhaps for private practice or for other forms such as judgeships, and have now spread that good work of North Mississippi Rural Legal Services into the wider community.
Great, thank you. So if the Elder Law Project had not existed, what do you think things would, how do you think things would have been different in Mississippi?
With the Division of Aging and Adult Services, when I was the director, we served over 35,000 people, seniors, with some type of service. Over 6 million meals a year were delivered. Now, with that type of impact into senior communities, you know that somebody had a problem. People were evicted from nursing homes wrongfully. People were evicted from their homes wrongfully. There were problems with estates, that Adult Protective Services had no expertise in following and resolving. And local prosecutors were overwhelmed. Sometimes these matters for seniors had to be dealt with by people who knew how to do so, knew not only the law and what to do, but had the compassion and the expertise in dealing with an older person. So I think it would have been a very different picture had legal services not existed. I'm glad they do.
And sort of the flip side of that question is, and you've shared some of this up to this point, but just sort of in summary, what do you think some of the most positive impacts that the NMRLS Elder Law Project has had on the community?
I would say, first of all, the service, individual service to the client was the most important. But secondly, I would have to give great kudos to the continuing education and the education that was brought to the professional working in the aging network by Ms. Kilgore and her team. The Elder Law Conference, presentations at the Joint Conferences on Aging and at Southwest, the Southeastern Area Agency on Aging regional conferences of 7 states, and her role in the law school was extremely important. So, and anecdotally, when she and her law students would come to my class in gerontology, at least once a semester, I had one, if not other, students express an interest in elder law. These people who had convinced that they were going to be social workers, audiologists, whatever they were going to be, expressed an interest in thinking about and talking with the law school about elder law. And I thought that was a wonderful tribute to Ms. Kilgore and her students.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your experiences in this area?
Well, sometimes I miss working in the aging network because it is a lot of fun to feel like you've given back to the community. And I know that's a feeling that Ms. Kilgore has as she's moved on to our retirement years. And I know that that's something that will give her pleasure as she thinks back on her professional career. And I give her great kudos for having developed what she has developed. As I said, have always said, I wish we could have cloned her.
Well, thank you. I want to actually open it up to let Jenny ask anything, especially that I might have missed, and just give her an opportunity. Jenny, do you have any questions? And you're muted right now, Jenny.
I have so many technical things connected here, so I can hear. I do think that Marion has covered most of the main points, and I appreciate all of her kind comments. And I do think it was a great partnership between our program and the Division of Aging, and I've enjoyed working with her and her educational endeavors since then. I really can't think of any areas we haven't really covered. The only one that I could think of that I just had a comment that when the Medicare Part D was rolled out, my law students worked with us, and Dr. Tutor she and the state officials really had a major problem that they had to nip in the bud with the insurance agents not telling people really what was going to happen when they changed plans and so forth. And I recall that the law students, one of my law students, when I asked at the end of the semester, oh, what did you do all semester? She said, I slept, ate, drank, and stayed on the phone with Medicare for the whole semester. That's all she had. Oh, she went to class. But I have a feeling that I think the partnership and the way that the Division of Aging called the legal assistance people in, and we would all have these meetings to try to decide what to do. I think it was important that we had the leadership from the state to get the situation straightened out, and it was straightened out. But I'm trying. I think that you have described pretty much how we work together. I can't really think of anything that we haven't discussed. It's kind of a mutual admiration thing here. I do want to make the comment that Dr. Tutor also saw the state aging network through Katrina, which was a major time. And many of the legal assistance people you worked with there were on the coast, I'm sure.
One thing I failed to say is that we would not have a legal services program in aging had it not been for Ms. Kilgore's willingness to take up the project, and North Mississippi Rural Legal Services director at the time seeing the need and working with the state before my time and with the 6 area agencies in North Mississippi to form the collaboration that became the Aging Project in North Mississippi that Ms. Kilgore oversaw. So we were so grateful for her vision and willingness to step in and do so.
Thank you.
And let me say, Katrina was a booger bear. It was a tough time right after Medicare Part D.
Right.
I can imagine. Well, I'd love for you to share anything else, but we appreciate so much. This has been great, and you've really been thorough in a lot of areas. So, would you like to share anything else?
I think we've covered it.
Okay.
Again, let me say it is a mutual admiration society. I think the world of Ms. Kilgore and the wonderful
Great.
team at North Mississippi Rural Legal Services.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. This is great.
All right.
An
Thanks.
important contribution.
Yes, we will update you on when this will be finished, Dr. Tutor.
All right. Well, if you need it, do it. It's I noticed shaking. If there's a problem, let me know.
Okay, I think it looks good. Okay, bye everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Jenny, we need to have coffee via this.
Yeah, let's do that.